There we go. There we go. I was having trouble. Just gonna give it a minute. Hi, Natasha. Hi, Natasha. It's been a while. Hi, guys. It's been a while. It's been a while. I'm going to explain why in a minute. Thank you guys so much for coming in. I'm not going to take up a lot of your time because it's a Saturday night. So I'm going to get right into it. First of all, thank you guys so much for still rocking with me and supporting me and subscribing to my channel and not unsubscribing. It's been over a year since my last video. And if I'm being quite frank, it got a little hot in the streets for me. So I don't know, I might have been paranoid, but I just felt like I needed to take a break from the videos that I was creating and the content I was creating just to let that situation with Tim Norman die down because his family was still here in St. Louis. I am still in St. Louis working. So I just felt like the best thing to do was just let that situation breathe a little bit so that, emotions can kind of settle and, people can get kind of used to the idea of Tim, being in prison. He was found guilty. He was sentenced to life. Thank you, Natasha. Yes, I got to put me first, Lucius. I had to put myself first and just kind of separate myself from that kind of work because it was a lot of work. Me just going to the courthouse every day of the trial. I know, James Madison. I wasn't going to talk about Tim. My goal today was to talk about Blueface and Krishan and the P&B Rock case. But then I got news that Tim had filed an appeal. So I'm just going to go right into that. Yes, that's what happened to me. I had to take a break. The woman he chose just for my own sanity and, to be frank, my own safety. But again, I might have been paranoid, but I just wanted things to die down a little bit before I got back into it. Speaking of which, you might have noticed that the name of my channel has changed again. I'm sorry for that. From today's celebrity news to today's crime news. The United States is a weird place, and there are some crazy stories and crimes that happen. So I'm going to be reporting on all of them. As they come across my desk, I'm going to do my own diligent research that you guys know that I will do. I'm not just going to take someone's TikTok at face value. I'm going to dig into the stories, and I'm going to bring you guys that information. But I wanted to be able to present crime stories that weren't just about celebrities, because sometimes you go a long time and maybe a celebrity news didn't pop off, and I don't cover like divorces and baby mama drama or anything like that. I cover felony and misdemeanor crime. So in order for me to feel good about the content and also be more consistent for you guys, my audience and my fans and my fellow crime buffs, I'm going to be covering all types of crime stories. So one thing I'm going to be covering, share my love. Thank you so much for the super chat. I have missed you. Honestly, I have missed showing up for you guys in this space. I miss making my YouTube videos. I miss going live. And really what kicked me back into gear, I was out in St. Louis at a party, and this woman looked at me and she was like, "Don't I know you?" And I was like, "No, I don't think you do." And she was like, "Yes, I do. I know exactly who you are." And I'm like, "Who am I?" She's like, "Jay So Extra. I know you from YouTube." So just that woman, recognizing me and telling me, she was like, "I really appreciate your non-biased. I appreciate the work that you did. You're so professional." So her saying that to me just really encouraged me to get back on my grind and get back to it. So yes, share my love. I have missed you guys too. Thank you for your super chat. I really appreciate it. Now, here's what we're looking at. I do deserve self-care. Yes, I have to do what's best for me, Lucius. I got to take care of me. But I also have to be able to have a work-life balance. And this is a part of my work. And because I was covering crimes in St. Louis, it kind of like intertwined into my life, because people rock with Miss Robbie and people didn't appreciate what I was doing in the coverage I was creating. And I understand everybody's entitled to their own opinion, but I needed to separate that I needed to separate myself from that energy. So moving forward, I am near St. Louis. I'm about 20 minutes across the river from St. Louis, and I'm in Illinois. So I am an hour away from Springfield, Illinois. And if you guys know where I'm going with this, Sonia Massey. So Sangamon County is not that far from me. And because I'm an Illinois resident, whenever it comes down for former Sangamon County Deputy Sean Grayson, if they indict him to go to trial, I will be following that trial just as I did the Tim Norman trial, okay? Because what happened to Sonia Massey is a blemish on Illinois. It's a tragedy. It's disgusting. And I'm going to be there to tell you guys what's happening in that courtroom, because with a high profile case like that, they like to keep the public out. Yes, the woman he chose, it is a heartbreaking situation. And hi, C Green. Thank you, Leslie Benito. Thank you guys. Thank you, Beth Lewis. I'm so glad to see you guys too. Thank you so much for showing up. So that's what I'm going to be focusing on is the Sean Grayson trial. I'm going to be, getting updates about that. And when the trial begins, I'll be covering that. But today we're going to start with Tim Norman. The reason why you guys followed me is because of my coverage of the Tim Norman case. And guys, it doesn't stop. So this week I received an email saying that Tim's appeal was being reviewed. So if you guys don't know, back in March of last year, March of 2023, that's when Tim was sentenced. I'm going back to my dates. I'm looking back on my videos to see when he was actually sentenced. No, he was sentenced at the end of the year. So in September, I believe. Give me 1 second. I'll tell you exactly. Yes. So in September of last year, and then we had Terica's sentencing in March. So since then, Tim has filed an appeal with the Missouri 8th District Court. Okay, so I have the documents here and I'm going to read them word for word. So Tim filed an appeal. Let me bring up okay, here we go. Norman argued in his appeal that certain pieces of evidence and the testimony of certain witnesses prejudiced the jury against him. The court argued that the jury instructions negated these issues. So if you can remember, when I covered the case, there were a number of witnesses, okay? And those witnesses gave their accurate and true testimony. We had, for the prosecution, we had FBI agents, we had St. Louis police officers, we had the forensics officers, we had specialists who were looking at Tim's text messages between him and Terica and Travell. We had Andre's mother testify. So these were all the witnesses. Okay. Now for the prosecution on Tim's side, we had the executive producer of Welcome to Sweetie Pies. We had Tim's, the guy they call White Mike, but White Mike pled the fifth. Okay. You had Travell testify. You had Terica testify. Okay. So there were a number of witnesses. I think she's out now. Yes. So I think that's why this appeal is happening. So what Tim is arguing with his new lawyer, guys. So now we are on lawyer number 4 with Tim. Tim had one lawyer for his pretrial motion. That lawyer, Tim dismissed. Then he got a new lawyer. That new lawyer recused himself. Then he got a new lawyer from Chicago who was the one who actually represented Tim throughout his trial. Now Tim is currently being currently being represented by an attorney out of New York by the name of Jennifer Bonjean, Bonjean. So she is Tim's new attorney, and she is the attorney who filed the appeal. This appeal was filed in January of this year, okay? Then it was reviewed in July. So based on the witness testimony, the evidence, the prosecution, the defense argued, I was right the first time. The prosecution argued that they believe that the testimony to be accurate and true, the evidence to be accurate and true, and there was no evidence to the contrary. So in order for an appeal to be taken seriously, the defense, I had it backwards before, but the attorney, the appealant, which is Tim and his attorney, they have to provide evidence to the court that, hey, not only do we believe these witnesses' testimonies to be false or this evidence to be inaccurate, but we have proof of that. So now that you guys are mentioning Terica, Tim and his attorney team can now argue that Terica was coerced into giving that testimony that put him away, or she was paid, or she was whatever. But you can say one thing, but you have to prove it. So the judge looked at the defense and the prosecution's documents as far as the appeal goes, and the judges ultimately ruled that, you know, your appeal is overturned. You will not be able to appeal the ruling in this case. And if you guys can remember, Tim was found guilty of conspiracy for murder for hire, conspiracy to commit murder for hire resulting in death, conspiracy to commit mail or wire fraud. He was found guilty in all three of those. Let me just check the chat real quick. His trial was more than fair. He had better representation than most. Absolutely, Leslie. Again, Tim had multiple attorneys, where some defendants don't even get a chance to hire an attorney. They have to go with a public defender. But Tim had the means to hire multiple attorneys to represent him. And he had some sharks, some bigwig attorneys representing him. I had to digress. Share My Love says, I had to digress from the Tim Norman case. It was overwhelming because I love the show. That is the sentiment amongst a lot of people who were fans of the show, who are St. Louis residents, who are family members of both Andre Montgomery's family and Miss Robbie's family. So she was a well-respected person in the community. She still is. People have misgivings about Tim, but they do ultimately feel badly for Miss Robbie and Andre's mom and his family because of what they believe that what Tim was found guilty of doing. So it was a lot. Imagine being here when that news broke out, being in the streets, driving past the restaurants, seeing Miss Robbie out at events. I saw Miss Robbie out. She was walking in what I believe is her new neighborhood. And I just felt so like, what if she sees me and recognizes me? What is she gonna say? R. Kelly's lawyer, 11 Phase 11 says, well, let me look into that. That might be true. The insurance guy will probably be getting out soon. Side note about that. Wally and I were conversing during the trial. He says that he wants his opportunity to tell his side. So I will be reaching back out to him to see if he's still willing to do that, because he might be in a position where he's like, you know what, that was part of my past. I don't want to open up that can of worms again. I don't want to, revisit that situation, and he might want to move on with his life, but I will be asking that question. Hello, Miss Kennedy Ken. My Jesus, here I request a grant according to no appeal for Tim Norman. Justice Andre Montgomery. Thank you, Jesus. Yes. Justice for Andre. When it's all said and done, Andre was an innocent. Andre was the victim, and his family is now suffering the loss of the pain. And they don't deserve to live with Andre's loss, and Andre didn't deserve what happened to him. Okay, so the judges denied Tim's appeal to retry the case. Okay, so that was his first appeal, is to retry the case. So now they have filed a second appeal. So what or second motion, forgive me. The motion now that was filed on August 9th is for more time to present more evidence to appeal the denial of the appeal. So right now, Tim and his team, his attorney, his legal team, have until September 6th to present more evidence that the appeal should not have been denied and that the appeal should be reconsidered. So the motion was for an extension because the judges initially said that, hey, you have to file this appeal within so much time and you have until this date to get us all the evidence before we hear all the evidence to hear for this appeal. Otherwise, we're not gonna review anything. So the extension was approved. So again, they have until September 6th to come with all of the evidence. And I don't want to say hypothetically. I don't want to speak as if this is true, but I think it's a coincidence. I find it coincidental that Terica is allegedly or apparently released, and now these appeals are coming. I want to make how do I say this? If I were to guess, I am not guessing, but if I were to guess, I would say that in the future, come September 6th, there's going to be an appeal filed again from Tim's lawyer, possibly with an affidavit from Terica, changing her testimony. Okay, this trial, this situation has the potential to be reopened and that whole entire can of worms coming open again. Travell was sentenced to 32 years. Terica was sentenced to 3 years. Wally was sentenced to 2 years, but his sentencing started later than everyone else's, which is why he is not currently out, but he will be out soon. And Tim, again, was sentenced to life. So I will come back after September 6th to let you guys know what happened with that filing. Okay. That is the latest update with Tim Norman. He's trying to get his case appealed. He's trying to get his case retried. He's filed an extension to get more evidence to bring to the court to give reasons why the appeal denial should be revisited and why the trial should be why the case should be retried. Okay. Moving on from that, we're going to go to PNB Rock. Now, if you guys can remember, back on my channel, Tim's case started in August, but in September, I did report that LA rapper PNB Rock was murdered in Los Angeles. Now, if you don't know who PNB Rock is, he sings that song, and I'm a terrible singer, guys, so please forgive me. I'm selfish. I want you all in myself, I swear. No. Okay, so that's who PNB Rock is. On September 12th, 2020, PNB Rock was at Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles with his girlfriend and a friend when two assailants came in with guns, went directly to PNB Rock, demanding his jewelry, and within moments of demanding his jewelry, they shot PNB Rock, robbed him, ran out the back door of Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles, and PNB Rock later died at the hospital. Now, there were reports that there was a setup, even reported in the local news that an Instagram post tagging PNB Rock with a picture of him with his jewelry on, saying which Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles they were at, and like time stamped. People believe that people in his party, either his girlfriend or his friend, allegedly set him up to be robbed. Well, the assailants were found, arrested, tried, and convicted. So I'm going to bring that up for you guys right now. Okay, sorry for the delay. I had to bring up the document. Okay, this is from the Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office. And it says, Freddie Lee Trone, convicted in murder of rap artist PNB Rock in South Los Angeles in 2022. Freddie Lee Trone was convicted by a jury on August 7th in the murder of rap artist PNB Rock. And it says, Trone was convicted by a jury today in the murder of Rakim Hashim Allen, also known as rap artist PNB Rock, at a South Los Angeles restaurant on September 12th. Trone was also convicted of 2 counts of second-degree robbery and 1 count of conspiracy to commit robbery. A second defendant, Tremont Jones, was convicted of 2 counts of second-degree robbery and 1 count of conspiracy to commit robbery. Both men are scheduled to be sentenced on August 27th in the Compton courthouse. And the prosecutor goes on to say, today justice has been served for Mr. Allen and his family, who have endured unimaginable pain losing a loved one to such senseless violence. We extend our deepest sympathies to them and the entire community. Thank you to my office's Community Violence Reduction Division for their unwavering commitment to seek justice for Mr. Allen and to hold Mr. Trone and Mr. Jones accountable for their actions. Let this serve as a clear message to anyone who threatens the safety and well-being of our community. Our office will relentlessly pursue charges and work tirelessly to bring offenders to justice. So, grateful to, can you please cover the mayor of Dalton? Oh, share my love. Yes, I will be definitely covering that. So back to the PNB Rock. Justice has been served. His killers were found. They were tried and convicted and found guilty of murder. Their sentencing is coming August 27th. So that is one case solved of the cases that I was covering previously. Yes, share my love. I will be so what's happening right now with the mayor of Dalton? So thank you, share my love. If you guys have been under a rock as an Illinois resident, again, I don't know what's going on in Illinois, but we are tripping. Okay, I can admit that. Dalton, Illinois is a small city outside of Chicago, Illinois. It's a suburb, if you will. They have a mayor. Her name is Tiffany Haynard. Okay, she is also the township supervisor of a neighboring city, because you can't be the mayor of 2 cities at the same time or simultaneously. But I also believe maybe she's the city. Is she the township supervisor of Dalton? Well, she holds the position of mayor of Dalton and then township supervisor. She has allegedly been misappropriating funds for years, and now there is documentation to prove it. She is under investigation from the FBI, the DA, the mayor of Chicago. There is a lot happening, and she refuses to release financial records of where the money has gone, the purposes of the expenditures, and the residents of the city and the township have been calling for her resignation, and she keeps denying those requests. So even though it's been voted on by the board, she has been able in her position to veto those votes, even though the votes were about her. And that's why a person shouldn't have all the power in one particular situation, or there should be an addendum to the Robert's Rules of Orders that say if you're at the source, if you're at the center of an investigation, you don't have a vote on whether or not you can be investigated. So it is a hot mess in the city of Dalton. She's been investigated by the FBI. If they find enough evidence, she is going to be indicted on federal charges, not misdemeanor, not just the state of Illinois. That is national Fed time. That's John Gotti type stuff. So I will be also following that case to see what happens with her. Hope you get my input. Susan, what did you want to say? Wasting Miss Robbie's money. Jay Watt, it is only a matter of time before the family files for bankruptcy, because Tim had been sued multiple times from restaurant goers because apparently he had gotten into a fight with one of them. So they sued him. Lease owners in one of his restaurants. He had a high-end apartment, luxury apartment in St. Louis. The landlord sued him for back pay. So many lawsuits, plus all of his legal fees throughout the trial. So if he was not able to use his own funds, or he didn't have the funds, then I imagine that the person who was paying for his legal defense was Miss Robbie. So if he continues down this path of trying to appeal the case, you have to spend more money. That's more of Miss Robbie's money. And I understand money is there to help your family in need, but how much more does she have to sacrifice to help someone who just won't accept what is their fate, excuse me. Hi, Creative Ambitions. Okay, so that was Tim and PNB Rock. Now let's get into, oh boy, Blueface and Krishan. So it took me a minute to get all of the particulars of this Krishan and Blueface thing, especially Blueface. Blueface was kind of convoluted. So bear with me while I go through the timeline, okay? In 2021, Blueface was arrested for assault on a bouncer outside of a club in North Hollywood, California, okay? He went to trial, pled guilty, or was found guilty. The judge sentenced him to 2 to 3 years with a suspended sentence, which basically means you're on probation, okay? So Blueface has been on probation in California since 2021, okay? Now, in 2023, Blueface is involved in a shooting outside of a strip club in Las Vegas, okay? So he again was sentenced to 2 to 4 years, but received probation. So now you have probation in the state of Nevada and you have probation in the state of California. Both of those cases, if you're on probation, the rules are you can't be on drugs, you can't have any alcohol, you can't be around any criminal element. For the Las Vegas case, he was not allowed to be in Las Vegas on the strip unless he could prove that it was for work reasons. So if he had a show, if he had a meet and greet and he was being paid for and there was a contract, that was the only way he was able to go back to Las Vegas. So if he went back to Las Vegas without it being for work purposes, or was using alcohol or drugs, he was going to be in violation of his probation in Nevada, and he was going to have to serve his full 2 to 4 years in Nevada. So here we are back in California, okay? His probation from 2021 had those same stipulations. If there was evidence of Blueface being violent, consuming alcohol or drugs, then he was going to be in violation of his probation and then have to serve his full sentence from the assault charges that he was convicted of back in 2021. Now, from my research, it was not clear what the actual probation violation was, but the reason why Blueface has been sentenced to 4 years in jail is because of his probation violation from his case back in 2021. What has been reported was that there was an issue. There were reports of an altercation with one of his baby mamas. I don't know who it was. I don't know if it was Krishan. I don't know if it was the lips, hips, that girl. I don't even know her name. But also there was video footage of Blueface at a concert and a woman was on stage. He pushed the woman into his entourage and told his entourage to get her. So if she filed a complaint of assault, that is a violation of his probation. Okay, so that is the reason why Blueface has been sentenced to 4 years. I'm going to just read this quickly. Blueface was sentenced to 4 years in prison, while Krishan may face up to 8 years in prison, both on drug charges. Let's see here. Blueface was able to get his 2021 sentencing suspended for the past few years, but after he was caught with drug paraphernalia, a judge had to give him the maximum sentence. This is a quote from Blueface's manager, Whack 100. Whack 100 also added that he is confident that Blueface will be home in about 10 months. He has already served 440 days. So again, where that the evidence of the drug paraphernalia, how that came about, whether it was a stop, I'm not sure, because that wasn't reported, at least in the research that I did. I could not find that, but c'est la vie. That's where we're at. You were caught with drug paraphernalia. That's a violation of your probation. You're sentenced to 4 years in jail. When I get more information on Krishan facing 8 years, because she was extradited, she was arrested in California on an outstanding warrant. While she was going to Blueface's trial or hearing, she was arrested outside the courthouse. From there, she was extradited to Oklahoma to face her own trial, and she's facing up to 8 years in prison, or 8 years in jail, excuse me, for drug charges. Now, what that stems from, I have no idea just yet, but I will find out. All right, that is everything I have for today. I covered the PNB Rock, covered Krishan and Blueface, gave you an update on Tim Norman. I will come back to you guys with an update on Tim's September 6th hearing and appeal and see what happens with that. I'll give you more information on Krishan and her sentencing, and I'll do some more digging about Tiffany Haynard. So it's Saturday, 7 p.m., and I want to know from you guys what time works best for you to go live, because I find that the best way for me to be my best self for you guys is to show up live. It's just less stress on me, and I can be more consistent if I don't have a lot of stress on me to get the content out there. So your options are Friday at 6 p.m., Friday at 5 p.m., Saturday at 5 p.m., or Saturday at 6 p.m. And these are all central times. I'm actually going to put a poll on my community. So you guys look out for that and let me know what time works best for you. Thank you guys again for being here. Thanks for welcoming me back with, yes, Pauline, ooh, child, they done paid Terica. I can't say for certain. If I were a betting person, I would say that Terica, remember, Terica had 2 children, and one of her daughters had a severe case of sickle cell, okay? So now she's 3 years out of prison. She lost all the momentum because she had like a lingerie boutique or a clothing boutique, and she was selling eyelashes and things like that. And she was since I'm live, I can say it, she was a spicy dancer. So you think any club is going to hire her after all of that? I don't think any club around here, because all the clubs that she would dance at around here are on my side of the river. And I don't think that they're going to take her back knowing what came along with her. Who knows? They might. Can you look into Shirley Strawberry husband? Shirley Strawberry. Ernesto Williams. Okay, I will. Yes, so I wouldn't be surprised again if that appeal comes with a new statement from Terica. But I'm gonna keep you guys updated because I'm back in it now. I see that I still have my supporters. I still have my fans. Thank you guys so much. Share my love, everybody. Leslie, you guys, Natasha was the first one in here. Thank you guys so much for supporting me. Again, I'm gonna look into any cases that you guys want me to look into. She's the co-host on Steve Harvey's show. Oh, sure. Oh, yes, I do remember. Yes, there's a couple people who I wanted to report on, which I will. Okay, yes, I will definitely. Yes, Shirley Strawberry letter 22. I remember. Yes, I will do that. We're here for you. Thank you so much, Kathy Price. Thank you guys again. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday. I will be back next week with another video. But until then, what do I say? Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. And until next time, be safe. Bye.